Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I'm doing another fluid art creation. I'm going to use my blow dryer and I'm just using a paint and water combination. I've got two metallics. One of them's a blue metallic, and in fact I'm loving this new colour by Amsterdam. Maybe it's not new to Amsterdam, it's new to me. It's something that I'm going to use a little bit more. I need to order some. I'm really loving that colour. But I've also got a blue colour palette. There's no black and there's no white. So I'm going to show you the blues. I'm going to show you the other metallic colour, silver. And I'm going to talk about the creation that I've got in my mind that I'd like to translate onto canvas. I'll show you all the consistencies as well. So let's see what we can create. Okay, so here are my colours. This is my colour palette. I'm going to use these two Amsterdam colours, the ultramarine and the sky blue light, as my base colour. So I'm going to do a split base, and then I'm going to use these four colours on the top. So we've got a metallic by Pebeo, which is the iridescent silver. And then we've got the iridescent blue-black by Pebeo, a Prussian blue hue by Pebeo, and the blue that I talked about in the introduction, the metallic blue by Amsterdam. They're my colours. So my four colours over the top, my two colours for the split base, and I'm going to show you the consistencies now. So each colour has been mixed with only water. So I'm doing a paint and water combination. So you can see it trickles off the spatula and just disappears when it goes back into the cup. No trace at all. And that's the same with all of these colours. So it trickles off and leaves no trace. So I've mixed all my colours up. Let me just show you my favourite at the moment. Don't know if you can see that shimmer. Metallic blue. I absolutely love it. Also with one of my other favourites, my Prussian blue. And then obviously the iridescent blue-black. I just love that, how the light catches that paint and you can see that colour. Okay, so they're my colours mixed up. Paint and water, 1 part paint, 1 part water. So I'm going to do a split base, so 2 colours on the base. And I have to admit, I'm working with one of my most favourite colours, blue. And this colour palette is really special because I think, well, I hope you'll agree, by the end, you'll see the final version and you will like this colour palette too. Don't forget, I do list everything in that description box below, so check that out. But the first task is about getting good coverage and consistency on my base. And I always say this when I do a creation, especially with a Dutch pour, where I think if you can get the base right in terms of the coverage and the consistency, then everything else should follow on top. So I'm using 2 colours for my base. I'm going to use my blow dryer on a cool setting and the lowest blow speed. And I'm now just going to spend some time blowing that paint across that surface area, ensuring that I've got good coverage with both of these colours. I really encourage you just to spend some time in that creation process. Don't worry too much about the end result. We always go through step-by-step actions on the tutorial videos that I create on my channel. But something I really do want to encourage everyone to do is just be in that current moment, be in that present moment of the here and now. Have no judgment or expectation about what you're going to create or how you're going to create it, but just really enjoy being in that present moment. enjoy seeing how that paint moves across the canvas, how those colours work together. And when you start layering the paints on top and blowing them out, seeing how those patterns start to emerge. I think we get really caught up in that end process, in that end result, and we don't always fully appreciate that creation process that we go from start to finish. It's that two parts that I really want to celebrate more. So I just wanted to share that with you because when I do my videos and I'm in my creation process, I almost allow myself to get lost and just appreciate that moment in time and that present moment. So I am going to continue just blowing the paint out. I hope you didn't mind me sharing that with you. And then what we'll do is we will then layer the other colours that I chose for this colour palette along that line that you can see where that darker and that lighter blue meet. So that split base, that's going to be our focal point, and that's where we're going to layer those other colours. So the coverage is good, I'm happy with that. And now I'm just going to take my torch and I'm going to use my torch across the base before we start layering on top. This is just to pop any air bubbles that have been created in that mixing process. So this line is going to be the focal point, and this is where I'm now going to take one colour at a time and place that colour along that line before we start blowing out the creation. Okay, so the paint is down. I'm just going to use my torch one more time just to go over that paint that we've just layered where those 2 points meet. And then I'm going to take my blow dryer, you've guessed it, cool setting and the lowest blow speed. And I'm going to start one end in that corner, and then I'm going to blow the paint across the canvas. And then as I do it, I'm going to then fan out different areas and just tweak the design. But this is now about enjoying how those paints mix and the pattern that emerges when you use that blow dryer. I'm happy with the pattern that we've created. I have noticed some excess paint just on that kind of that negative space area on both sides. So I'm just taking my blow dryer just to remove that paint, blowing it from that surface area and down the sides, because I do want that consistent coverage on top. I don't want any deeper puddles in some areas, because if that happens, when that drying process starts, the canvas itself, that surface area, will dry at different rates, and that's when you risk cracking. So that's why I wanted to just blow some of that excess paint from that surface area down the sides to ensure that I had that good coverage on top. Okay, so here's a close-up of the wet version. I'm going to take you in so you can see some of those details, and you'll notice, because I used a metallic, I used that silver, you can see some cells that have been created naturally. And cells are created because of the densities, the different densities of the paints that are used. You don't always need a cell activator or an additive to create cells and lacing. So I got so excited, I did want to show you this final result. It's almost dry. I would say that it is dry to touch on top, but it will take another few days to fully dry. There are some darker areas in that ultramarine, but they will dry a little bit lighter once it's fully dry. But I just love the tone that that brings to the canvas. And I said it right at the beginning, this colour palette is one of the most joyous colour palettes I've used. I love blues. By adding that silver, I just love it. So thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope I get to see you again in the next video. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.